I'm Brian Fowler, president of Blind Creek Resources Limited, listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, ticker symbol BCK. Blind Creek is focused in the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and British Columbia. The company's key property is the Blend Project, one of the largest undeveloped lead-zinc-silver deposits in Western Canada, plus plans to advance the recently acquired, fully permitted historic engineer gold mine in the Atlan District of Northwestern BC. Check us out at blindcreekresources.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Chris Vermeulen from the TechnicalTraders.com. Welcome back to the show, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jim.
Chris, it looks like a red board right across the market. It doesn't matter if you're talking about oil or metals. What's happening, and is this a good or bad situation?
There's a lot happening today, especially today. We're seeing most things are down big. Stocks are down really big, down over 1.5%. Precious metals are down. You're looking at, gold down 1.4%, silver down 4%, platinum down 4%, copper down nearly 4%. We're seeing some huge drops across the board, and crude oil is selling off. And, I talked to subscribers earlier this week and said everything is set up based on last Friday's close. Everything is set up for a really volatile 1 to 2 weeks going forward. We've got mixed cycles in the market. We've got extreme kind of highs and lows being triggered at breakdown levels, and everything is going haywire today or this week in general. And a lot of people there's panic in the market. We're seeing the VIX is up over 60% over the low a couple of days ago. So everyone is buying put options, expecting the markets to fall apart into pieces. The put-call ratio is spiked up, which confirms that everyone is in a panic and buying those options. And everything is just crashing. And we're seeing panic selling on the New York Stock Exchange, meaning we're seeing 7 or 8 shares being sold to every 1 share being bought. And that's a huge ratio. I consider that ratio, any ratio over 3, to be extreme. So today we're seeing 8 shares being sold. So today it's just panic in the market. I think if you were to go and talk to any investor who's looked at the market today, they would probably be stressing out. And if you look at the other side of the picture and you know what to look for, these are prime opportunities. Subscribers and myself, we are letting the market shake things up. We trimmed off positions last week and anticipating this drop, and now we're starting to see that panic, and this is when bottoms are made. This is when the markets are oversold, undervalued, and I'm starting to get real excited about the markets here. This is what I like, and we're still in a bull market, so we need to be buying these extreme panic sell-off dips here.
Should you look at the FANGs, the ones that were overvalued before? How have they done?
Yeah, the technology stocks, they've been hit obviously really hard. Facebook down huge. The tech sector in general has taken a beating, and I'm not a huge fan of the FANGs. I just finished posting an article talking about how I think a lot of money is actually going to start. People who are trading and investing in FANGs might start rotating and looking at other sectors going forward. I'm not a huge FANGs fan at this time. I kind of feel like the leaders are kind of starting to switch gears. So I do think there's going to be a broad market rally, and of course, pretty much all sectors should rise going forward. But it's going to be interesting to see how the FANGs kind of regroup and get back into strength, and if they can rally to new highs or not. But I do feel as though they're kind of fragile, and there's a lot of things crumbling behind the scenes there.
We'll have more with Chris Vermeulen right after the break.
I'm Greg Johnston, CEO of Carl Data Solutions, an industrial Internet of Things company that provides big data solutions for monitoring critical infrastructure. Carl Data offers machine learning and predictive analytics features through our cloud-based applications to deliver key asset-saving operational insights from massive amounts of data. Carl Data trades on the CSE, symbol CRL, and the Pink, symbol CDTAF. For more details on Carl Data, please visit carlsolutions.com.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Chris Vermeulen. Chris, you were saying the banks might be a little worried here because if things go south, the housing sector will go along with it, and there go their mortgage books. However, Moody's just said Canadian banks are strong enough to withstand this. What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, well, the Canadian bank system and the U.S. bank system are quite different. And while nothing is bulletproof, I definitely do feel as though the Canadian bank system is stronger. But I mean, there's talks going around. It's obviously harder to get mortgages now than it has been. Things are tightening up, and I feel as though banks have had good earnings overall, but I do feel as though things are brittle, and banks are realizing that if the music stops in the market and we see real estate start to get soft, I think they realize they're still, obviously they're hyper exposed to real estate. So if something goes south in real estate, the banks are going to be in serious trouble. So I do feel as though there is a threat with that, but we have had good earnings in banks, and I do feel as though they're a sector that should perform still half decent here going forward into the end of the year.
You said Canadian banks, U.S. banks are different. What's the big difference?
Well, in Canada, we've only really got like the big kind of 5 banks, and it's just a totally, to me, it's a very different system. And then across the border, there's, I don't know how many there are, 1,400, 1,800, or 2,500 different banks, all kinds of small mom and pop shops. It's just, I think rules and regulations in the States, and the fact that these are all much smaller banks, that a lot more can crumble and go out of business when things do go south versus the big Canadian, banks that are much larger and I think more stable.
Both Canada and the U.S. have legislation now that allows banks to give what they call the Cyprus haircut, dip into your bank account to look after their losses if it looks like they're teetering on the brink of failure. Do you think the government would still just bail them out if it was that situation, or should they be allowed to fail and leave people's accounts alone if they're protected by the deposit insurance?
Yeah, I find it's crazy that the bank's allowed to steal people's money because of their lack of business management and risk structure and all those things. I don't know how to really look at it other than it really just frustrates me that they can get free money from the government, but they also have the option to take their clients' money and leave them high and dry, more or less. I'm against it. I think it's ridiculous, but there's nothing we can do. And, I guess, policies are there to keep, if the banks go under, the whole country collapses, so they have to find a way to keep it. But, all these companies and countries are broke anyway, most of them. And everybody just seems to be able to get free money and zeros added to their account. And, I don't know how the world keeps going around when everyone's broke, but, it would just keep getting deeper underwater. And I guess extreme measures always call for more extreme times require more extreme measures. So I think things are going to continue to get worse, and it's not good for the end user, especially somebody who saved up a considerable amount of money, and then all of it, you think it's safe, and then is gone, and everyone's left hanging. So it's hard for people to save money, and if everyone could lose it simply because a bank is not managed properly, it's not fair to the general public.
In England, they have a law that will allow them to jail a bank CEO 3 years if they allow their banks to fail. Should we have legislation like that here?
Yeah, I could see it from a CEO standpoint, though. He walks in, becomes a CEO, and looks at things and gets the nitty-gritty and goes, holy crap, this is on the verge of going under if the market goes soft, and, nobody will want to be a CEO anymore. Yeah, it's a good policy. It definitely will make them, change and restructure and start protecting their butts. But, I mean, a new CEO walking into most of those companies, I think, would look at things and be like, geez, if things go any south from here, I'm going to jail.
Yeah.
And there's nothing he can do because the company's so far over its head already.
But banks really parachute people in. People get promoted from within a bank, so they would be well aware of what a bank situation is.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess if that's the case, then it would be, yeah. But I think it's a great idea. I think it definitely puts somebody accountable, that's for sure. And that's what you need to make proper decisions, not just fudging numbers and trying to get good earnings for shares and getting more money out the door lended. It's got to be done properly so everyone is protected, the bank and its clients.
We'll have more with Chris Vermeulen right after this.
Cypress Development Corp's flagship lithium project is located just east of Albemarle's Silver Peak mine in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. A 12-hole exploration drill program for lithium-enriched claystone on Cypress's 100% controlled properties is now underway. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the Pink's CYDVF, and on Frankfurt's C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Chris Vermeulen. Chris, if the stock market and commodities and so on are in a semi-meltdown right now, is there anywhere where you could feel safe?
It's tough. Like when there's a broad sell-off, we usually see almost all things go down. But with that said, there are two sectors that are actually green today, which are the consumer staples and the utilities. And you and I have talked about this many times in the past, especially during big sell-offs when there's real panic in the market, which is what we are seeing today, is money flocks to the things that we need to live. Consumer staples, we need staple products, and we need utilities, water, hydro, gas, all those things. So those are the two sectors that are green. They're actually performing very well. They've actually been performing well for the last several months. Since more or less June, we've seen very strong market really for both of those sectors because I think there is a growing fear that the equities market could be rolling over. And, the market right now has been climbing this wall of worry. If the stock market can recover here over the next 2 weeks and push to new highs, then I think we're going to see those two sectors, consumer staples, utilities, have a very significant pullback as money rotates out of those kind of dull sectors and into the leading sectors going forward. But right now, those are the two safe things simply because no matter what happens in the world, we still need those things.
Crude also fell, and I saw that U.S. oil inventories were up dramatically. Are people driving less?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the plan is, but based on analysis, I was talking to subscribers yesterday, and all the price action for crude oil the past month and a half is very bearish. We are looking for $65, $64 per barrel or this week in general, and of course today it's dropped and it's reached those levels. Hopefully we'll see it sell off a little bit more. I like to think the movements happen based on simple technical analysis. More or less the charts are telling us what people are thinking and feeling and their actions. So whether it's news-based or not, I just follow that on the charts. And I think we're going to see crude oil continue to be under pressure for a couple more days, but it is getting close to, I think, a significant buy point again here.
And I also wonder, too, how the wildfires are affecting travel. California's a light. BC, which is usually a very attractive tourist destination, has declared a state of emergency because of the wildfires. So that's a lot of people who won't be out camping or looking at the wild outdoors. So they're not going to be camping and using a lot of fuel. Could that have a big effect on the crude market in the long run?
It could. There's not just fires in BC, but there's fires everywhere. It's a terrible year for it. I'm in Ontario, and we've got friends who have their kids at camp, and their camps were evacuated here in Ontario. We've got big fires moving through. Some towns have been evacuated. So yeah, I definitely think there's probably a lot of people not going anywhere and staying tight and not maybe traveling as nearly as much, simply because a lot of the whole camping side of things is on fire. It's a bad year for that.
Yes, and if you look at how much fuel one motorhome uses and how costly that is, I mean, really, you could see how that could affect the market if thousands of those vehicles are not on the road.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, camping is huge, especially where I am too. It's all trailers, it's mobile homes. They're everywhere. Everybody's doing massive cross country and camping adventures. So yeah, they're huge gas guzzlers. You put those big 25, 35 foot trailers and pull them with a truck, and some of them have their boats towed behind them, all that stuff. So it's definitely could put with all those being parked, that's thousands of gallons, millions of gallons probably not being burned because of lack of travel.
Sure. And hotels and motels affected as well.
For sure.
Chris, any last thoughts here before we wrap up the interview?
I would say the only thing to listeners here is to just try not to be too much in a panic over the markets. Today is a pretty emotional day. I think it's going to continue to be choppy. We're going to see big intraday price swings, 1%, 2%, 3% price swings in sectors and indexes and commodities. And this is kind of normal. It's not the end of the world. It's just a pullback and a correction. Things are kind of resetting and people are panicking out. And I think it's a great opportunity when we see this. We are still in a raging bull market, and it's just a matter of kind of letting the dust settle and waiting for some type of reversal bar or candle or recovery, a strong session on the market to potentially look to start picking a bottom and getting in for the next leg higher in the equities market.
Chris, thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, always a pleasure, Jim. Thanks for having me.
My guest has been Chris Vermeulen from the technicaltraders.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at HowStreet. Questions for the show can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.